Hey guys, welcome to my channel Miss Recap. Noor was a young man living in a fantasy world who was pretty strong for his age and very well liked by everyone in the town. He worked a job requiring manual labor, but even his boss was impressed by his work and never said a word against him, as he was the best worker that he ever saw. One such day, after taking his daily wage, he was about to head back when he suddenly hears the voice of a woman screaming for help coming from a nearby cave. He immediately rushes over even after his boss tells him not to, as it could be dangerous. He ignores everyone's warning and enters the cave only to see a girl wrapped in magical barbed wire while an adventurer's party face off against the giant demonic bull. Ever since he was a child, he always had to take care of his mother and the household because his father never came back with the milk. But he took it as a champ and started taking care of the house. His mom was sickly and mostly bedridden, so he made hot soup for her to drink while covered in soot and told her that he is going out to hunt some rabbits so she can have some protein for dinner. His mother cleaned his face while apologizing for not being able to give him anything in life. But Noor put on a brave face and told her he doesn't need anything anyways. Later that night, he prepares a hearty rabbit stew for his mom, but when he comes back to feed her, she has already passed away from this world. Now poor Noor had no one to call family in this world, as he buried his mother outside the house, but decided that he can't be weak and cry. He started living alone, tending to the garden, catching game, and taking care of the farm animals, and studied inside his room after thoroughly cleaning it. He trained his body by catching wild fish, carrying heavy loads on the mountains, and eating lots of protein every day. One night, due to loneliness, he climbs on top of a chair and takes out an old dusty storybook and starts reading it. This takes him way back, as he remembers the time when his family was whole, and his father would tell him the tales about mighty adventurers who fought colossal dragons, learnt magic from wizards, lifted curses in the haunted forest, and fought against an army of elves. These stories always fascinated him, as his father would tell him that the duty of an adventurer is to protect the weak people and make sure they are never hurt. This gives him inspiration to do something with his life, and next day, after tending to animals, he gets ready to leave his hovel and move towards the city to try and be an adventurer. He stays in the forest at night with a campfire, and by the next morning he arrives at the beautiful city of his kingdom. He enters the giant main gate and is completely blown away to see the amount of people roaming around the markets, selling their goods, and people buying swords and fruits at the same place. While walking, he notices a man with a sword and decides to follow him, which leads him to the Adventurers Guild. He enters the establishment to find a big burly man at the reception instead of a thick furry girl. Disappointed, he tells the man that he is here to be an adventurer, but the man brushes him off by saying that this is no place for kids and he should think about his parents. Noor replies that his parents are dead, which catches the fatty's attention, and he tells him to drop by the training school first. Noor seems confused, but fatty tells him that to join a guild, he needs to pick a school, go through basic training, pick his class and skills, and only after graduating can he become an adventurer. Noor is happy for the information and excitedly heads over to a school with the aim to become the strongest swordsman. He enrolls and starts training in the way of sword. But even after several weeks, while every other student starts awakening their magical potential, Noor still says without any magical abilities. He keeps practicing and several months pass by, after which the instructor tells him that he doesn't have the talent and is wasting his time here. He tells him to join a different school, as he is definitely not fit to be a swordsman. Noor doesn't give up and finds the school and decides to train as a warrior. He starts training under a big fat redhead, but even after going through intense training for several months, the redhead tells him that he doesn't have the talent for it, as all he has learnt is how to parry attacks. He then goes through several different schools, first as a hunter, but he gets kicked out. After that, he tries to become a thief, but gets rejected as he has no talent for it. He then goes to become a magician but fails even in that, so finally decides to become a healer, but fails and returns back disappointed. The fatty is shocked to learn that even after spending months at every school, he didn't learn a single thing, and tells him that unfortunately, there is nothing he can do to become an adventurer. Disappointed in himself, Noor leaves the city and returns back to his cottage in the woods. But he decides that he is not going to admit defeat and creates his own training setup with a sword. He decides to perfect the one move that he learnt, which was to parry and deflect attacks aimed at him. He spent days perfecting it day and night, and finally, after a year of rigorous training, he became strong enough to parry 10 attacks at once. He decides to keep training, and 3 years pass by, after which he manages to parry 100 swords at once, but gains no new skills. He keeps training endlessly to the point where his sword breaks. 14 years pass by as he realizes that in these past years he has trained every single day and is now able to parry 1,000 swords at once without fail. Despite putting this much hard work, he doesn't gain any new skills, but still decides to head over to the Adventurers Guild once more. This time he meets with a young girl who looks at his skill set, only to advise him to visit the training school. Noor tells him that he has already been through them, which surprises the girl, as she tells him that he doesn't have any skills to make him an adventurer. Noor gets disheartened once again, when the fatty comes out and barely recognizes him. They sit down to talk over some beer. When Noor tells him about his training for the past years, Fatty tells him that there are ranks in an adventure from E to S, but even to become E rank, you need at least one skill, which Noor doesn't have. Noor gets sad, but Fatty tells him that not many people know, but there is another rank below E, which is F. There are some limitations for F-rank adventurers, as they can't take kill quests or work in the forests outside the city. They can only take odd manual labor jobs in the city, but no one would really want to do that. To his surprise, Noor immediately accepts and finally gets his adventurer's license. He starts doing odd jobs around the city like carrying heavy loads, finding lost cats, and keeps training every single night. He also takes nursing jobs and takes care of old people by cooking for them. While doing all this, he keeps training and seems to be happy working as an adventurer who can actually help people. Finally, we come back to the present where the giant bull walks towards the adventurers and smashes the leader with his axe, who flies into the wall. Noor quickly checks him, only to find out that he is dead. He looks back to see the other guys getting skewered by the bull as he kills every single person in the area effortlessly, before moving his eyes onto the white-haired girl. Noor's body immediately jumps into action as he throws a rock at him and diverts the attention before running away. The monster chases him with surprising quickness, and Noor realizes that he can't run away. So he turns around and parries the bull's attack. To his surprise, the parry was so strong that the bull gets blasted into the wall. It immediately recovers and jumps through the dust to attack Noor. But he is able to parry the attacks again and again as he realizes that if he misses a single parry, he is as good as dead. He tries to find an opening, but realizes that he doesn't have a single offensive skill to actually land an attack. His swords start chipping, but the demon turns towards the girl and rushes towards her. Noor immediately uses his feather step ability, which increases his speed to appear before the bull and deflects the attack once again at the cost of his own sword. He remembers his father telling him that an adventurer defends the weak even at the cost of his own life. So he stands his ground even with a broken sword. And this time when the monster attacks, Noor parries with all his might, which deflects the axe so much that it bounces back and chops the head of the bull cleanly before getting stuck in the rocks. The girl is utterly shocked as blood splatters all around the area. But the magical jabber wire disappears from her body. He falls to the ground, looking at his sword which shatters and jabber how close of a call it was. The girl immediately thanks him for saving her life, and jabber his name. But Noor replies that his name isn't worth remembering and walks back outside. He walks through the streets, thinking about how he almost got killed by a giant cow, and realizes that he needs to train even ointment if he gibber to truly become an adventurer who can protect people. After Noor was gone, the dungeon gets filled with the white-haired woman's guards as she turns out to be Lin Clay of a noble family. Her personal guard arrives and watches the dead Minotaur being inspected by the scientists, while Clay's guards lay dead on the ground covered by a white cloth. She immediately apologizes for not being here for her protection, but she tells him not to worry about it as it wasn't her fault. A little while later, another man named Dar enters and asks whether she is fine and details about what happened here. The news about the attack reaches her brother Ray, who is completely shocked to find out that her sister was attacked by such a monster. He asks Dar whether he has any idea what a Minotaur was doing on the surface when it is supposed to stay in the innermost depths of the dungeons. Dar bows down and answers that this was definitely an assassination attempt, as they found out that the ring Lin recently bought from a merchant. He claims that the ring got tested by a magician, and he revealed that it had a monostone of 90% purity, which is extremely hard to find. And that was the reason why the Minotaur attacked her group. Ray still seems unclear as he doesn't understand why a Minotaur would want a Manastone. But Dar reveals that he believes the Manastone was cursed by the neighboring enemy kingdom of Derry, who is known for practicing dark magic. Ray agrees with this assumption as lately Derry's army has been harassing them on the outskirts, and now such a brazen attack on Lin without even trying to hide it proves that they want a war. Ray then asks Dar about the man who saved Lin's life. But Dar claims that they know nothing about the man, apart from the fact that he killed the Minotaur with his broadsword in a matter of minutes, but escaped quickly afterwards without even telling his name to Lin. The next morning, Noor goes into the guild, as if nothing happened, when the fatty immediately walks up to him, asking if he is fine. Noor seems confused, so Fatty explains that last night, a deadly monster emerged in the caves near his construction site, and that's why he was worried. Noor has no idea that Fatty is talking about the Minotaur that he killed last night, as he thought it must be a low-level cow monster since he managed to defeat it. The fatty tells Noor that he is lucky that he left beforehand, because even a ranked adventurer like him couldn't have done anything against such a strong beast. Noor wipes the dirt from his face and wonders what kind of monster could it be that even a ranked adventurer is scared of it, and then thanks the god that he only faced off against a giant cow. Noor asks what happened to the monster, and Fatty replies that some mystery man ended up killing the beast in a single blow, which really shocks Noor as he wonders how strong that man must be to kill such a monster, not realizing that he is the man Fatty is talking about. Later, Fatty gives him his pay for the day, but tells him to get a real job as well, otherwise he won't be able to earn much. Before he could reply though, a hooded figure appears behind him and calls him out. Noor turns around only to find the white-haired girl he saved yesterday, and asks how did she find him. She apologizes for following him, but claims that she used her long-distance detection skill to find him. He asks whether she learned it from the thief schools, but she claims that she is from the magician branch, but has equal skills in all the 6 branches. Lin notices that she is drawing way too much attention and asks Noor whether they can talk somewhere more private. But before he could reply, Fatty grabs him and asks what the hell did he do. Noor replies that he didn't do anything wrong, while Lin deploys a soundproof barrier and asks him to come with her. They both exit the guild and walk through the streets to a desolate area, where she tells him that she really wanted to thank him, as not only did he save her life, but he also saved the life of a lot of citizens. Noor still doesn't know how strong he is, so he claims that she is so talented, and he must have ruined her plans by butting his head in between. She tells him that it's not true. In fact, if he didn't come to her aid, she would have probably died there. She then claims that she wants to reward him for his help, but Noor immediately replies that her gratitude is enough. Lin, however, is not so easily pushed away, and she tells him that she is a person of status here, and even her father would like to thank him personally. He again refuses, which shocks Lin, who has no idea why a man would refuse a reward from a noble. She asks whether there is anything troubling him, and even claims that her father will give him a lot of land if he wants it. But Noor keeps rejecting her offers. He tells her that he doesn't need anything from her, which makes her tear up, as she feels obligated to repay him for his help. She tells him that she won't move from this place till he accepts her gratitude, which reminds him of the time when he did the same to one of the instructors of the healing school branch. He finally gives in and agrees to meet with her father, but refuses to take any over-the-top rewards. This makes her happy enough, and she uses magic to conceal both herself and him as they walk through the city back to her mansion. When they finally reach her house, Noor is completely shocked, as he has never seen such a big and lavish place. They walk by the guards and enter inside, while Noor wonders whether this girl is a noble, if she is so rich. On the way, they end up running into her personal guard Annie, who looks at him suspiciously and asks who he is. Lin tells her that this is the man who saved her life, and she immediately softens up, claiming that she will take them to the Lord. They follow Annie through the gallery when Noor spots a guy wearing yellow armor waiting by the window, and he immediately jumps into action, spinning his lance before pointing it towards Noor, asking who the hell he is. Annie tells him to back off as he is Lin's guest, but this Pikachu-looking asshat ends up making fun of Noor for looking poor. Annie introduces him as Gil, and asks him to accompany them into the room, as she still doesn't fully trust Noor. They wait outside the hall as Lin's father Clay was talking to his son about the chances of war increasing, as they remember the last time they met with the King of Derry, who ended up insulting them, and threatened to wage war against them if they didn't give them access to all the dungeons in their kingdom. Soon the door opens, and they all enter the hall, and while both Annie and Gil drop to one knee in front of their lord, but Noor has no clue who the man seated on the high seat is, so he simply walks ahead without a single care alongside Lin. She introduces him to her father, claiming that this is the man that saved her life, and immediately the lord got up from his seat and moved towards Noor, thanking him for saving the life of his girl. Noor tells him that he is not a noble and has never talked to nobles before, so he doesn't know how to properly behave. But the lord doesn't seem to mind, as he laughs and shakes his hand, before asking him to choose anything that he wants for a reward. Noor immediately declines, claiming that he neither wants land nor gold, The Lord seems confused but tells him that if he wants, he can have half the treasure of the oldest dungeons in the world that falls in their kingdom. Ray advises against it as the treasure is worth more than a small country's GDP. But to their surprise, Noor refuses it as well, claiming that he doesn't want any kind of gift from them. The Lord looked confused as to what sort of man would refuse such a gift. He then walks over to his seat and takes out the giant black sword behind it, which used to be his personal weapon during his adventuring days. Ray seems a bit worried, but his father tells him that it's fine as the sword should be used in battlefield and not kept as a decoration. He hands it over to Noor, who grabs the handle and immediately realizes that the weapon is heavier than anything that he has ever used. Noor thinks that it is just a random second-hand sword, so he decides to accept it as a gift, as he wanted all of this to end quickly, so he could go back to work. The Lord asks him to swing it once, and to his surprise, Noor simply used one hand to swing the sword so strongly that it created wind blast around them. Noor looks at the Lord and tells him that it's a bit heavy, but he will manage, which makes Clay laugh as he can't believe this man just swung a two-handed great sword with a single hand. Clay asks whether he would like to train Lin a little bit as it is getting very dangerous nowadays, which puts a smile on the girl's face, but Noor immediately declines, claiming that there is nothing he could teach her and decides to leave. On the way through their gallery, he looks at the sword once again and realizes that it is the same size as the drainage ditch, which means that he can use it to scoop out dirt from the ditch much more efficiently. Before he could leave though, he gets stopped by Gil, who puts a lance to his face, telling Noor that he wants to see whether he is worthy of that sword. While Noor wonders whether he will ever be able to leave this mansion to get back to work or not. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.